Welcome back into the kitchen. Today we're going to make a wild mushroom risotto together. For many, risotto is something that you order up in a restaurant. But I want to show you just how easy and simple it is to make risotto at home. And it's the base for a lot of other dinner ideas that you could put together. Let's talk about risotto for a second. Risotto starts with arborio rice. It's a rice that has extremely short kernels, and those kernels are coated with a thick layer of starch. That's what gives a risotto the creaminess. You do need to have arborio rice. You find it in every single grocery store. Some people just call it Italian rice. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook that. We're going to cook it slowly. We're going to be adding liquid, and what's going to happen is the outside layer of the starch is going to disintegrate and cook in and form that creamy sauce. And what we're going to be left with is those little pearls that are so tasty inside the risotto. We're just going to cook it so it still has a little bit of firm texture. If you watched a video of mine a few weeks ago on picking wild mushrooms, you saw that I kept some and I chopped them up and I put them on racks to dry. These are those mushrooms now, about 3 weeks later after they've dried. These are porcini mushrooms, classic when you're making a risotto. They have so much flavor and smell inside. What's happened as they were drying, all of that flavor condensed. And that's going to be what gives a risotto that wonderful flavor to it. So what we're going to do to bring out that flavor so we can infuse it inside the risotto, we're going to take these mushrooms and we're going to put it into warm water. Not boiling water, just warm water coming out of a tap. If they're a little on the big side, you can crack them up. They don't have to sit in here very long in the water. Usually about 10 to 15 minutes is going to take all of that flavor out into the water, and then we're going to drain them off, but we're going to save that water. We're going to put it in with the broth that we're going to cook the risotto in, and then we're going to dice these mushrooms up with some just conventional regular store-bought mushrooms that will give texture inside the risotto, but the flavor's all going to come from these. And if you take a spoon, you can just put them on the spoon on top. That'll make sure that they stay in the water and they absorb all of that and turn that broth. I've gone ahead and strained the liquid that the mushrooms rehydrated in into a pot here where I have about 2 liters of chicken stock. This could be chicken stock, this could be beef stock, it could be vegetable stock. And if you don't have the stock around, just use one of those pre-bought canned ones or even some bouillon. I've got about 2 liters of it. I don't have it boiling. All I have it doing is steaming. That's all it needs to do. Just bring it up to a nice kind of a scalding temperature. Then I've taken the wild mushrooms, I've diced them up, and I've also diced up some just regular mushrooms from the grocery store to give it texture. I'm going to fry these very slowly in a pan with butter inside. What I want to do is I want to reduce them right down, get all of the liquid out of the store-bought mushrooms, and I want them to actually start to brown and caramelize on the outside. So we're just going to cook it over nice low heat. The risotto itself is really simple to make. You just want a nice large saucepan that has plenty of volume, plenty of surface area. You can use a large pot that maybe is a little bit shorter in depth as well. I'm going to add some butter into the pan. Then I'm going to add about 1 onion diced up, and I'm going to add about half a head of garlic, so about 6 or 7 cloves. I'm not going to cook these onions or the onions and the garlic all the way down. What I just want to do is get them nice and translucent. When the onions are translucent, that's when you're going to add the risotto. I'm using about 1.5 cups of risotto here. You can vary the amount depending on the number of people that you're going to be cooking for. So I'm going to add this right in, and I'm not trying to brown the risotto. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to combine this. The risotto is very white in texture, just like regular rice. As I cook this for 30 seconds to a minute, what's going to happen is that risotto is going to start to become translucent. That tells us it's going to be ready to put the broth inside. When we're adding the broth, we're going to add 1 ladle in. It's going to start to boil up really nicely. And at this point, we need to stay in the kitchen. We need to stay close by because we're just going to keep on stirring it slowly. As we're doing the stirring, what's happening is all of that starch around the risotto is going to start to break apart, and it's going to start to cream up. As the liquid becomes absorbed and some of it evaporates off, you'll add another ladle. And you're going to keep doing that same thing, stirring it around, adding a ladle, until the rice is finished absorbing. And you're starting to get that nice, really nice, deep, creamy texture to it. When it's starting to slow down on its absorption rate, if you have a little spoon, take a bit, try it. Don't put your spoon back in if you're going to be feeding other people. And what you're looking for is the same kind of consistency as al dente pasta, or a little bit on the firm side pasta. It shouldn't be crunchy. It should just have a really nice, nice meaty texture to it. This is probably why they charge so much in a restaurant for risotto, is someone has to be cooking it for you fresh. This is not something you make in advance. It doesn't take long to make, but you do need to continue to stir and continue to add liquid, so you're not going to run out of liquid and burn it. Now, I've chosen to use wild mushrooms to pick up a flavor and to add a little something to the risotto. You can have a risotto plain. You don't have to add a veg. If you are going to add a veg, you want to make sure you cook that vegetable beforehand and put it in cooked instead of raw. We don't want to try to cook vegetables inside the risotto itself. We're going to add it right at the end. You can also add a protein of your choice. Common ones would be to put prawns inside, maybe a little bit of pork, maybe a little bit of beef or chicken. Really, this is also excellent if you've got some leftovers inside the fridge that you want to heat up and add into the risotto and make a whole meal out of it. It's been about 20 minutes. It's starting to slow down a little bit in terms of its absorption rate, so I'm just going to try a little bit here. Almost there. It's a little bit crisp. Maybe one more ladle of liquid, and then we'll try it again after that. I'm going to tuck this spoon to the side. I will use a fresh spoon when I test it again. I'm already picking up that wonderful flavor of the wild mushroom liquid that's gone inside the broth. When we add the wild mushrooms and the conventional mushrooms at the end, it's just going to all come together at once. The mushrooms are rendering down. They're getting a really beautiful brown crispness on the outside. That caramelization is going to just enhance the flavor when we add it into the mushrooms at the end, or into the risotto at the end, I mean. This whole meal, start to finish, if you allow about 30 minutes, you're usually there with the risotto. All right, let's give this a try again. The texture in the risotto is absolutely perfect. We're going to turn the stove right off. There we go. The last step is to add some Parmesan cheese. It could be Parmesan, it could be Asiago. I've got a little bit of fresh Parmesan. I'm going to put that in. And I'm also going to put a little bit of grated Parmesan inside as well. Maybe total could be anywhere 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup, depending on how cheesy you like it. Once you put that in, we're just going to mix that around. It's going to become creamy, wonderful, and absolutely delicious. The smell of the cheese is starting to come out of that as well. Last thing we're going to add is wild mushrooms inside, because after all, it's a wild mushroom risotto. I'm going to combine that in, and then we're going to plate it up and start some dinner. Well, you know, it really doesn't get any easier than this. 30 minutes in the kitchen, and you can produce a Italian restaurant quality risotto. Just takes a little bit of love, a little bit of stirring, you get some exercise in the process. Risotto is incredibly cheap to make. It is nothing more than rice, a little bit of broth, the vegetables you choose, and a little bit of your time inside. So I hope you enjoyed joining me in the kitchen today. Look forward to seeing you again, and have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there. Please click subscribe now for my newest cooking videos. A printable recipe and ingredients list can be found on my blog page. You'll find the link in the video description box. Thank you, and have a great day.